I think the moment of invention for Oculeve really was the outgrowth of Michael Ackermann, who became the founding CEO, coming to Stanford and participating in the biodesign program. We have a program here in which we bring talented young entrepreneurs to Stanford. They have various backgrounds, whether it's in engineering, marketing, medicine, or other fields, and they spend a year learning about the process of commercialization of medical products.
Michael committed to a year with us. The team that year was assigned to ophthalmology as an area to look for clinical needs.
At the time, I was actually very disappointed about this. I was hoping I was going to get assigned head and neck. There was a lot more going on there, I thought, and knew literally nothing about the eyeball other than I had two of them and that they were important to me. And we went into the clinic for a month as part of this program and just observed clinical care and watched patients come into the office, watched surgery. We thought the surgery was going to be where all the excitement was, and of course there was a lot of excitement there, but oftentimes patients are in surgery because there is a solution to an unmet need. And what we found actually is that there were a lot of patients that were coming into the clinic with dry eye.
We were in a boardroom, if you will, at least wall-to-wall whiteboards, and spending hours upon hours brainstorming and coming up with crazy ideas, most of which wouldn't work. And actually, when we first came up with this neurostimulation application, coming from Michael for the most part, Michael Ackermann, we all thought it was kind of insane. Why would you shock the eye? Why would you produce tears this way? And it turns out, after a lot of vetting, that ended up being the best approach.
Initially, we thought that we would actually start with a implantable pacemaker-like device where we would run a wire all the way up the neck and place it into the orbit of the patient. A very small wire, of course. And when we showed it to Dr. Chris Taw, corneal specialist at Stanford, and said, so what do you think? After he gained his own composure, he said, whatever you do, please don't show this to my patients.
I met Michael through Mark Blumenkrantz, who was chairman of ophthalmology at Stanford at the time. And when Mark calls, I do what he suggests. And Michael came by my office, and at the time he was a postdoc at Stanford in Paul Yock's biodesign program. And he had this idea for treatment of dry eye. On the spot, that first meeting, I said, okay, we will spot you $100,000. Why don't you go off and build a prototype and test it in vivo?
The first meeting with Brooke Byers was a little intimidating, to be honest. So this is somebody that has been involved in more than 100 companies, I think some 70% of which have been successful.
He came back 2 months later, and so I said, well, do you have some data in vivo? And he goes, yeah. And so he did, and it was really quite remarkable on the Schirmer score and all of this. And we had some laughs about how we went about building the prototype and testing it. And then, so that part of the risk was over. Is there a fundamental proof of concept? Now we needed to really move into building a company and starting it. So I said, all right, Michael, let's put together the A team on the investor side. And I've always wanted to work with Bill Link at Versant. So I'll give him a call, and Ali over at NEA.
I liked the fact that it was the proof of concept and the mechanism of action was very understandable. If we could stimulate through neurostimulation the lacrimal gland, we would get tear production. So it made sense, and there were some feasibility tests that had been done that showed promise there. So it was very logical. I'm very comfortable with neurostimulation technology. It's very advanced in the medical field. And Jim Loudon and others were expert in the field, so I knew we were in good hands there. The cons for me were the fact that the initial configuration was going to be an insert that was going to be put in under the eyelid. So it was a surgical insert. I thought that might cause enough morbidity from the procedure that it would keep the technology and the therapy as late stage only. So I was a bit worried about how much of the market we could serve with that initial approach. Of course, serendipity happened. Michael and Jim had the idea that, well, gee, maybe we can stimulate the nasal mucosa in a non-invasive way and deliver that same benefit. That was a breakthrough.
We were actually sitting there at lunch, actually eating spicy Mexican tacos. We were sitting there trying to think, how to make our therapy better, and suddenly, we were thinking about all the other reflexes that are involved and what we could do, and suddenly the light bulb went off our head, that in our over our head, saying that we could probably do this just by electrically stimulating inside the nose itself. And so yeah, we came out of that lunch. We had a bunch of meetings later that day, which we canceled all of them, and just sat down there and just sat there and developed sort of the nucleus of the idea.
Immediately after we had thought of the nasal stimulation idea, we actually were in a small park in Mexico City on the walk back to the hotel, and we were trying to communicate some ideas to one another, and it was probably Jim who found a rock, and before we knew it, we had all kinds of diagrams drawn out on a park in Mexico City, which left us with two interesting issues. One, we of course snapped a photo of it so that we could include that in our provisional patent filing, and two, started looking for a cup of water just in case someone wandering through the Mexico City park might be able to pick up on what we had written down.
That's the sign of a great team, right? So we, had some trials and tribulations that came up, and then kind of working through, not only just the product, but understanding the science and the physiology, I think is what was the key difference there. And I think once we realized that sort of unlocked everything, and that then, led to kind of us moving a lot faster than we had, because then, we had the mechanism of action nailed down. We knew kind of how, we knew that, we could, where those nerves were and what the best way to stimulate them were. And that I think was the real kind of pivot moment for us.
Michael and his team knew that a significant amount of tears were created by the air that moves across our nasal septum. So the innervation of the nasal septum is intricately tied to our tearing mechanism. So this observation and being able to stimulate it on demand was absolutely huge.
Once they've tried it, and once they felt the sensation, and once they felt the tears in their eyes, they were converts. And then, of course, they take the device home and use it regularly, and they could see the benefit. Probably one of my favorite patients was one who told me she used to watch sad movies just so she could feel her own tears, make herself cry. And she said it felt like velvet to her to have the tears. And she felt like our device did that for her, that whenever she wanted, she could produce tears. She, of course, at the end of the trial, she wanted to keep the device. A lot of patients did. They weren't allowed, of course, it was investigational. But there were a number of patients who lost their device before the final visit that we weren't able to retrieve as much as we tried. That was the kind of response that we were used to.
I became aware of Oculeve at the ASCRS meeting in 2015, and I have a bit of a tradition where I try to attend those meetings and all the functions, but then carve out a day or two to do one-on-ones with thought leaders and key opinion leaders. And in this particular case in 2015, I was with John Berdahl, Vance Thompson, and Rick Lewis, and in a row. And one after another, when I asked them the question of what's new and exciting out there, what do you see that's novel, all of them said, you got to see this Oculeve company. They're doing really amazing things, and patients are really having a tremendously positive experience with this device. And so when those three guys all in a row, without any coordination, tell you got to look at something, you look at it.
A couple of days after that meeting, I get an email from Brent Saunders, and he says, Bill, if you have time, could you have a call with me this week? The following day we had a call, After getting caught up on a few things, he said, I hear really good things about Oculeve. And I said, yeah, I'm excited. And he said, I think I want to buy it. And I said, what? I said, Brent, it's really pretty early. And he said, I understand it's early, but I talked with several KOLs that were very fired up about it. And then I was collecting myself, and he said, well, now how much is it going to cost? And I said, it's going to be expensive.
It's a great fit for Allergan. So we're obviously so committed to the eye care space. It's the foundation of which our company was built. But we're also the leaders in dry eye. And so I view dry eye as a multifactorial disease. I view it as still a huge area of unmet medical need. And so I think a company like Allergan needs to be out on the forefront of supporting innovation in the condition of dry eye. So it's a perfect fit, and for us now to be nearing FDA approval and hopefully launch of TrueTear, which is what we're calling the device, is really exciting for Allergan and a real testament to the innovation of the Oculeve team and Michael Ackermann.
I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Michael and his team, and I think it was a big team effort for a big success. It was really important in so many ways for the patients, I think for proving that biodesign works. I think it was important to showing universities and departments that this type of enterprise can be very successful and meaningful to patients. I look forward to hearing many more great things in the future working with you, and congratulations, an honor well deserved.
Michael, I just want to pass along my congratulations for winning this OIS Innovation Award. You did an absolutely fantastic job in inventing this technology and bringing it to patient care. So well done.
Michael, congratulations. This is a well-deserved recognition of what you built. You, the team, the company, and most importantly, over time, I hope you realize the contribution you've made to patients around the world, tens of millions of patients who are suffering from dry eye, and what you've done for them. And I can't wait to see what the rest of your career will be like.
I think one of the best things that happened to me in my venture career was actually getting a chance to meet you at a frozen yogurt shop, and really, I think you're an incredible talent, incredible leader, and someone who I think who I would absolutely back again. And I love seeing people who may not be traditionally the person that you would say should be the CEO of a medical device company, but you did an outstanding job, and you took a company that was really an idea that was conceived by you and your team, and built it into what hopefully will be a game-changing therapy. So my hat's off to you. It's a well-deserved award, and I look forward to working with you on many other endeavors to come.
Michael, it was so fun to be involved in the Oculeve journey with you, and to see how you dissected an unmet need and understood its anatomy and what led you to neurostimulating the nasal septum. And I'll never forget a couple of the game changers to me that were absolutely amazing. One, the idea of producing tears on demand was absolutely huge to patients. But as I watched the team of researchers you put together be able to prove this wasn't just a lacrimal stimulator, this wasn't just making aqueous, it was making mucin, and it was making meibomian secretions, the first trifecta in dry eye therapy. And what you did for the world in leading this charge is absolutely amazing. I congratulate you. I congratulate Kirsten, your wife, who was there every step of the way. And I'm honored to be your friend and comrade. Congratulations on getting the OIS Innovators Award to you and your Oculeve team.
Michael, it's a privilege for me to see that Oculeve, you and your the leadership team are receiving the OIS Innovator Award. Well deserved.
So I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation to Michael and the entire team at Oculeve. What you have accomplished and where I think TrueTear will go in terms of helping patients deal with dry eye is nothing short of spectacular. And so I just wish you the best. I thank you on behalf of the entire Allergan family for your innovation, for your commitment, and your passion.